Welcome back to another segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. Today, I'm going to be taking more of your questions in a segment of Ask Judy. So here we go. All right, Shelley asked, curious, what did you do with the scripts that you didn't keep? Donate them to the Smithsonian? No, actually, I recycled them. I didn't want to keep carting them around and felt that that was the most environmentally friendly thing to do. There's a lot of versions of the script, so I don't think that the Smithsonian would necessarily need an entire archive of them, and I'm sure that Lorimar has them, or somebody does have a complete collection of all of the scripts. A question from Jeff. He asked, was the chimney up on Waltons Mountain something that was artificial and put up when the story called for it, or was it real and the production went to that spot to film? I believe it was something that the art department put there whenever it was needed. The Grandpa's grave area or the fireplace or Martha Corinne's cabin, those were all done for specific episodes and would have been recreated as needed. Bonita asked, in the later seasons when Michael Learned was working for the Red Cross or with John Boy, did you film all the episodes she was in at one time, or did she come and go whenever she was in an episode? She would come and go when she was in an episode. Probably when they knew she was going to be in an episode and all of her scenes were going to be in particular locations, whether it was at the hospital or at the Red Cross office or something, probably would have only required a day, maybe two of filming for her. So they would have just coordinated her availability within the days that we were shooting that episode. This one from Just Some Guy. Curious about how long it would take to create the set for the general store or the Baldwin sisters' home. Could they assemble a set in a few hours? Did they have photos or instructions to follow? So those sets were permanent. Like Godsy's store was always there on the soundstage. The exterior was always there on the exterior back lot, and the interior set inside Godsy's store was always there, just like the house set, the living room, the kitchen, all of those sets existed all the time. Now, between seasons, I don't know if they paid to have those sets there throughout our downtime or whether they were dismantled during our hiatus, which was about 3 months long, and then put back together afterwards. Don't know. But from episode to episode within the season, they were just there. Same thing with the interior of the Baldwin's house. The still room, I believe, was there all the time, as was their sort of parlor and their front entryway. It was really just other sets that would maybe come and go, but those were typically sets that we weren't going to see regularly. Have a question here from Pamela. She said, I'm also a huge fan of Little House on the Prairie, and did your cast and their cast ever meet each other? Was there a friendship there at all between the two shows? I have met most of that cast. We've crossed paths here and there, and in fact, just recently, the Waltons, some members of the Walton cast, played some members of Little House on the Prairie cast in a game night to raise funds for the Actors Fund on Stars in the House. If you want to watch that, you can find that on YouTube. Just look up Little House on the Prairie versus the Waltons Stars in the House game night. Stephen asked, do you ever have an opportunity or take the opportunity to go back and visit the places where the series was filmed, including Fraser Park? Yes, it has happened occasionally. We did a special kind of a documentary behind the scenes of the Waltons for a British television company a number of years back, and they actually took us out to a number of the locations where we had filmed, both in Franklin Canyon and at Fraser Park, and we reminisced about our location shooting there. And I frequently pass by some of those spots when I am driving along that section of the LA freeway on Highway 5, what we call the Grapevine, and I see those signs for Fraser Park and for the little town of Gorman, where we used to stay when we were filming in Fraser Park if it required that we stay overnight. So I have occasionally gone back. I don't know that I necessarily can find the locations again because I never drove myself to those locations. But in Franklin Canyon, which was closer to the studios, I have been back through there, and it's always nostalgic when I drive through and remember the wonderful times that we had filming there. Tanika asked, Judy, please tell us about your strange real-life experience that you said you had. I'm not entirely certain which one it was, but I'm going to guess here. This was about an extortion bomb threat in the late 1970s. I got a call in the middle of the night, somebody saying that there was a bomb in my house and in the house of someone close to me, which made it sound like perhaps a family member, and that if I did not give them X amount of money, that they were going to set these bombs off. Well, I thought, oh, this has got to be a hoax, and I ignored it. The next night, the person called back, basically said the same thing, said, you think I'm kidding? Now I was a little bit alarmed, so I called the police, and I said, explain what had happened. They came over to the house and basically said that we were going to do what they were saying, which was they had given me instructions of where I was supposed to drop off this shoebox with the money, and it was an intersection very close to my house. So the police basically set up around the area, and they had me go. They put a bulletproof vest on me underneath a sweatshirt, and a police officer was in the back seat of the car. They said, okay, go to the intersection and put the box in the intersection as instructed. So I got there, I drove to the intersection, I got out, I put the box in the middle of the intersection, and I got back in the car. And I understood the officer was going to get out and he was going to sort of basically hide in the bushes nearby to watch the intersection. When I got back in the car, he was still in there, and he was like, no, we need to go meet with the other police first and coordinate this, so go back and get the box. I'm like, what do you mean go back and get the box? What if they're there and they don't like that? So they're like, oh, just go do it like you changed your mind. So I got out of the car and I went back and I picked up the box and I got back in the car, and we continued on down the street to where there was sort of a staging area for the police, and they went through what the plan was that, I hadn't fully understood. And then we did that again. I drove back up the street and I got out and I put the box back in the middle of the intersection. And when I got back in the car, yes, the other police officer had gotten out of the car. And then I went back home to wait. Well, not too long later, I got a call that they had picked up two guys, and they wanted me to come down to the police station. So I went down there, and I did not recognize either of them. And ultimately, what we found out was one of them worked at a car dealership where I had gone with my brother, who was looking to buy a car, and I was going to co-sign a loan for him. So I'd filled out all kinds of paperwork, which included personal information. And this, when we decided not to do this, these forms went wherever they went, but somebody there got a hold of it and thought this was just a wonderfully clever way to get some quick money. But they, the police said they didn't think they were very bright, because they said it was like a low speed chase. After they came and they picked it up, they had a very low speed chase through some neighborhoods and then pulled them over and took them in. And, it was, this was like happened during the middle of the night. They brought the bomb dogs out. So the bomb dogs came to the house and checked the house. There was no sign of an actual bomb. And then the next morning, I was actually flying out to do a publicity event. Now, this was the days before cell phones and all that kind of stuff, but I called my mom on the way to the airport. I said, Mom, you may hear something on the news, because this was, news got out very quickly. I said, I'm going to be on an airplane. You won't be able to reach me. Don't worry. I'm fine. Anything you hear, don't be alarmed. At some point later, I did there was a little court case, and I did have to go testify, which I found fascinating, because that was the only time I ever had to testify pretty much for real. And I found myself, the actor in me, was monitoring the situation and kind of going, well, this is what this feels like, and this is what's happening, and I should learn from this. So I don't know. I think a lot of actors have those experiences where you tend to monitor what's happening. A part of you pays attention because you might use it for a scene sometime. When we went back to work, I think the reason why I had alluded to this was because I was talking about Ronnie Claire Edwards, and when I next went back to work and was working with Ronnie Claire, she came in and she said, well, some people will do anything for publicity. So we got a kick out of that. But all was well, and nothing serious happened. Nobody was hurt, and that's my little story. That's what I have for you for this segment of Ask Judy. I will be back with more behind the scenes of the Waltons and more Ask Judy. If you have questions you'd like me to take up, please put them in the comments below, and I do pull questions from down there. So thanks very much. See you next time. Thanks for watching.